the reason to do a DNA test.
Hi guys, welcome back to our channel. In case you're new here, my name is Maren and I'm Maureen. Now, when it comes to the DNA testing of Israel, it has often brought controversies online with people wondering whether or not it is legal or illegal to conduct DNA tests in Israel. And it has also often brought debate as to whether there are other Israelites out in the world or Israel is the true chosen nation. So in today's episode, Black Americans and Americans in general are gonna be reacting to this question of why it is legal or illegal to have testing in Israel. And this debate was started when the genetics information law was passed back in 2000 in Israel. Right, I guess guys, the term or the definition of legal depends on different regions, and it depends with how the different regions choose to define it, right? Because while you'll find something that is illegal in one region, when you move to another region, the same thing is probably gonna be legal, right? And what are the reasons behind this? And would you say there's a bigger picture to it or a bigger motive to it? Guys, let's watch what we prepared for you and then you come back and talk about it. You can let us know your thoughts and opinion in the comment section. Also consider subscribing if it's your first time here. Let's watch.
This is why you can't believe a lot of people who claim they live in Israel and try to debunk you, because 9 times out of 10, they don't know what the hell they're talking about. I'm just going to let the facts speak for themselves and just share this with you. And as you can see, this comes from the Jerusalem Post, which is an Israeli source. Let me let y'all read this. Not without a court order. Do you guys understand? I'll go ahead and read this with you because some people may not know how to read. I don't know, because people find it so hard to understand the things that I say. So let's go. If you live in Israel and want to find out where your family comes from, what do? One thing is for certain. An answers kit from a local pharmacy is out of the question. While millions of such kits have been sold in the U.S., Israelis are forbidden to buy these kits from the store without a court order. Again, a court order, as Israeli government controls these types of purchases due to the genetic information law. Next paragraph, they explain what this law means. Here you go. They even tell you why they criticize these self-DNA kits, because they don't trust people to interpret the results themselves. It says it right here. Such kits are highly criticized for the reliability, for the interpretation of the results, and for possible effects on subjects and their families. So clearly, this isn't just about protecting the privacy of the consumers. This is about interpretation. They want to make sure you're interpreting this properly. Do what you want with that information.
You came from Europe, you came from everywhere else.
But when Kyrie Irving tried to point this out, didn't point out, provided a link, they crucified him, and everyone supported it.
Totally forbidden. Wrong.
So basically, it's only allowed if you want to find out you're Jewish, but not find out like from where you are in the world. So kind of funny. I wonder why it would be banned. I'm curious why they would ban that. Just a random observation.
This is true. I've read articles about this because I do a lot of study in archaeology and ancient history, and the foundation of where people came from and where they moved to is just one of my special interests as an autistic person. And it has been proven that both Jewish people and Palestinian, or people of Palestinian Muslim background, have the same, they are from the same ancestors. That's what I've said before. They basically can make the same claim to that land. So it can't be the situation where the Jews are claiming that the Muslims have just infiltrated their chosen land. It's not true at all. They're both descended from the biblical Canaanites, essentially. Yeah, I can totally understand why the the Israeli government wouldn't want, and I don't want to just say Jewish because Jewish isn't, it equates to Israeli Zionists, a completely different thing. But anyway, the Israeli government, I can see how they wouldn't want that to allow DNA tests, because it would basically prove that they both lay claim to that land. And they have been taught for the longest time that they are the true ancestors and owners of that land. Where the settlement of that land lies, I do not know. I cannot provide that answer. But genetically, they're essentially the same people. historically.
So here's a fun fact for you. DNA tests are actually forbidden in Israel. Yes, I said the word forbidden. The only way you can get a DNA test done is through a court order, and they have to verify that you have valid reasons to want to know your DNA. I'm sorry, I mean your ancestry. Like, you can't even make this shit up. Like, that is an actual law in the state of Israel. And you really have to ask yourself, why would a country have that in the first place? If you claim so hard that this land is rightfully yours and you can trace your DNA back to that land, why ban DNA tests? They know that a lot of Palestinians will be able to trace their DNA to that area. They also know that a lot of Jews wouldn't be able to do that. And yes, you're absolutely right. They know that a lot of Palestinians and Jews would share the same DNA.
Ever know that? I didn't know that. That's news to me. But this video's a couple of days old, and it's got quite a few views, and some new information coming out. Kind of funny, around October 31st, around the time that this lease is supposed to expire, all of a sudden the Most High's bringing out all this other information. I mean, yeah, it's well known, I'm sure, in some circles, but the vast majority of us did not even know that. We were not aware of these types of things. He said you can Google it, so I did that. So let's take a look at some of the stuff that I found when I Googled this. So right here, what countries do not allow DNA testing? France and Israel strictly prohibit the use of direct-to-consumer DNA testing websites, but are unable to regulate those that operate from abroad, March 1st, 2022. So, I mean, you can't stop it, but they strictly prohibit the use of direct-to-consumer DNA testing websites. Let's check out some other parts. So we got this one. Why is DNA testing illegal in Israel? It is actually in part due to fear that such information may upend marriages and maternal lineages. That in 2000, the Israeli government passed the Genetic Information Law, which makes it effectively illegal to use a DTC genetic testing kit in Israel. So, I mean, this is like, 2000, but this article here is about 2020. So this has actually been something that's been going on for quite a while. Now, we know there's probably some other reasons as to this, and we'll get into that shortly. Now, right here it says, can Jews trace their lineage? Most present Jews do trace a considerable or even majority, usually not an overwhelming majority, but surely at least 50 to 60% ancestral component clearly identified with the populations from late Bronze Age and Iron Age, southern Levant, where Judah and Israel were located among other Canaanite-derived groups. So saying that you can, find your lineage, you can go back and whatever else, that totally goes against the Bible. The scriptures say that we were going to lose our identities. Jeremiah 17:4, we're going to lose our heritage. That was part of the curses that true Israel was going to go through. Now, something from the video that you need to kind of listen is that, listen to and kind of pick up on. At the end of the video, the Arab guy was like, he starts talking about the Jews that were there with them. But he doesn't really go into that. He doesn't really, he just kind of diverts back to the Palestinians. But these guys are well aware. Everyone in the world is well aware who the true Israelites are. This Arab guy knows too. He's telling you that these guys prohibit DNA testing. So if they're all they all know about this, not allowing DNA testing, that these people all come from these different European countries. They didn't stop and just like, but we don't know who the true Israelites are. They all know. But apparently it seems as if everyone is just sworn to secrecy. The Arab guy was actually describing our plight. You know that they were bombing their churches, but he tries to throw like the whole Palestinian thing into it, like they were bombing these Christian churches or Palestinian Christian. It's like, no, man, they're bombing Israelite churches. He says, and like a lot of you couldn't really tell because he was really mixing things up. But listen to that part. He's like, well, a lot of these Jews, and we know that, they feel like they're more persecuted than even the Arabs, than even the Muslims. Of course we are. Because in Daniel 9:11 to 12:13, it tells you that the true Israelites are going to be, they're going to be getting the business. They're going to be getting destroyed more than any other nation, more than any other religion. Real quick, I'm going to read Jeremiah 17:4. And thou, even thyself, shall discontinue from thine heritage that I gave thee, and I will cause thee to serve thine enemies in the land which thou knowest not. For ye have kindled a fire in mine anger, which shall burn forever. And people, oh, how did how did you know, if it's your land, how would you not know it? Because they moved us all over the place. They took possession of our lands. But this was all part of the prophecy, us losing our heritage. But now these prophecies are starting to actually be fulfilled. Hosea 1 and 10. Yet the number of the children of Israel shall be as the sand of the sea, which cannot be measured nor numbered. And it shall come to pass that in the place where it was said unto them, ye are not my people, no one's telling Ish that they're not the people. Everyone is all on that bandwagon saying that those are the people, right? But at a time it says, ye are not my people. There it shall be said unto them, ye are the sons of the living power. And that's what is on tap right now. The Most High is exposing the other nations, exposing who the people you are supporting, and and showing who the real people the Most High loves and the ones that He has chosen.
Then you can Google this.
Ooh, that's scary. They don't do that there? That would mean people who do things like SA and unaliving people, crimes that deal with DNA, those people won't get any justice. That means that people could be walking amongst the population, just doing things, and not going to jail or prison for that. That is a scary... Oh my gosh. And DNA is put into the equation. That's like here in America when somebody gets unalived or SA'd, and sometimes they put the wrong people in prison, or they can't find the person because of DNA. Sounds like somebody's scared of DNA to get caught for doing something that they weren't supposed to be doing. Oh my gosh, this is so scary. That means that they're hiding something. What are you guys hiding? You dirty dogs.
So guys, welcome back. This by far is one of the most simple and complex arguments out there in the internet, and people just often wonder, as we have seen in the analysis today, why the government in Israel allows people to do DNA, but to a certain point. It allows people to do DNA if they want to find out if they are Jews, right? But other people are claiming that you are not exactly allowed to find out you are a Jew from where or where you originate. Right, guys, don't you think that it's funny how there was a point in life when people just lived their lives as they pleased? People lived freely, right? Of course, during the Stone Age, right? Let's go back to that. People lived and they didn't care how they lived, provided they fed, they got dressed decently, or however their tribe did. But people lived their life freely. You can, to the extent where you can almost be forgiven for thinking people from the Stone Age even had more freedom than what people in today's world do, right? In today's world, democracy means something different across different regions. It's the same thing with DNA test. While DNA test does not, from the surface point of view, right, it does not look like anything dangerous. It does not look like anything that should be threatening anybody's freedom, right? But when you move to different regions, that definition does change, right? So I'm like, while in America, if you look at how in America it has been made so easy for people to get these kits and use them themselves. You don't have to be necessarily a professional. You don't have to be a doctor. You don't have to be like that. You know, they've made it so simple to a point where anybody, just a random person, can literally access them from a pharmacy so long as they want to know or trace their lineages, right? But in Israel, it's different because it's a different different region for reasons known to them. And this is one of those episodes where we're going to say we'll encourage you to form your own opinion and do your own research, right? So you wonder exactly what harm or damage, right? Let's just pretend and ask exactly what harm or damage can this kit bring in such a big country that is sort of has power when you compare it to many other countries out there, you know. So I tried to understand the notion behind people saying that in Israel DNA tests are illegal, right? So I did ask Google, yeah, is it illegal to take DNA tests in Israel? And this is what Google said: it is not illegal to take DNA tests in Israel, but the industry is strictly regulated, right? And certain types of tests, specifically the genealogy or paternity, requires a court order or are limited to authorized laboratories. So Google says that it is not illegal to take DNA tests. However, there are some certain tests that are limited or are only allowed through a court order, right? So I think up to there we can understand that, right? So it further goes on to say claims that all DNA tests is prohibited is false, often stemming from misunderstandings of the genetics information law that was passed in 2000, right, which was designed to protect privacy and govern the use of genetic data. Right, so guys, let us know what you think about this episode, because I feel like up to date existed on the internet, right? What do you think about this topic? Because it's very, very interesting. In some things, I feel like it's good to just do your own research, because some people might be walking out there in ignorance, and then you go and find yourself in a certain region and you end up doing things that might get you into trouble, right? So it's good to just do your own research and yeah, know things out here, right? So I asked Google, why is it restricted or regulated when it comes to DNA testing in Israel? And Google said restrictions on private paternity tests are largely to protect children and prevent legal religious consequences of revelation if a child was born out of wedlock, which is usually affecting the status of the parents' relationship. That's interesting, because anyway, let's just look at it the way Google says it is, right? That's very interesting. It's good that they're trying to protect their kids, right? And I feel like, okay, places like America, if people want to know the paternity of their kids, I mean, is it that it's because of the difference in religion in the two areas? Because even here in Africa, if you want to find out the paternity of your kid, it's just as simple as going to do a DNA test. It doesn't have to, nothing has to be brought in it to make it complicated to a point where you're bringing religion into it and what. At the end of the day, unless one of the parents is insisting, then you can go the legal way by acquiring a court documentation to do DNA on your child. Right, but this is crazy, right? Anyway, as I said, to each their own, different regions, different rules, right? So guys, let us know what you think about this episode, and also consider subscribing if you're new to our channel, and we'll see you on our next episode.